So here's how it went this morning. I got up, I got dressed, and I was like, do I go to the gym? Do I go for a walk? What do I do this morning? But something was calling me to do a live. I don't know why the lighting is weird here. I hope that's okay for you guys. To do a live and to talk about forgiveness of self. But I could feel my mind being pulled between, do I do this or do I do this? And they were all equal in my eyes. They were all equal. I was like, I have all these things that I want to do all at the same time. So what do I do? And I got quiet inside. And I was called to give this talk. And this is something that I'm telling you guys this because part of reclaiming our personal power and healing ourselves is about listening to self and following divine guidance. And many times when we do that, we don't know what that means. We don't know what's going to be the result of that. But we learn to trust and we follow that, and somehow, some way, everything weaves itself perfectly into place and we are exactly where we're supposed to be. So, taking off my glasses so I can see, I got this weird fuzzy, kind of weird ethereal thing going on. And I'm just going to leave it because it's kind of cool. And I think it's really important on this journey today that we're going to talk about self-forgiveness. Now, I had someone reach out, well, there's a couple things that are going on here. I had someone reach out to me recently that was talking about some things that had gone on in their past, and the first thing that came to my mind, spirit-led, was that this person has to learn to forgive themselves. There was that. And the second thing was that I have been pondering this topic for a while. It just like, so many ideas come up that I want to share with you guys, and I just put them notes in my phone. And when that came up with that message from that person, I was like, this is something that I need to talk about live because I really want to get into the depth of this with you guys because, like it says in the title, self-forgiveness is a large part of the healing journey. I mention this a lot, that the self-love tenets are how we reclaim our personal power. It's how we heal our hidden shame and unworthiness. And it is through concentrated effort and taking the time to go within and to work on ourselves is when we're going to heal ourselves. That's where we're going to have the best results. Now, a lot of times, we're so distracted in life, we're so busy trying to run from the feelings, or we're trying to get there, that there out there in the future. If I could just get there, whether it's money, health, relationship, if I could just get there, I'm going to be happy. But we lose track of what it is that's actually going to make the biggest difference in our lives. And I'm guilty of this myself. So it's not like I'm saying things to you guys that I've not done myself, because I could not and would not stand up here on a public forum and talk about things that I'm unwilling to do for me. Because that's not wisdom. I'm not even sure what that would be. So for the person who I'm recording this for, I also know that anytime there's one person in need, there's many, many, many other people in need of the same thing. So I hope that this talk today lands at the right time for you, whoever you may be. And I'm going to invite everyone and anyone who listens to open your heart and open your mind to what you are about to hear, what you're about to experience. Because that's another thing. The healing path is an experience. We experience things through opening up our ear gates and our heart gate. And then things come in, and there's usually a ringing true to that thing. And when that thing rings true, that's when we know that that's what we need to implement in our life. Because we are spiritual beings, we have this attunement to universal truth, to things they actually will resonate. That's why people say that resonates with me, or oh, I feel that, or that makes sense. And any one of those words that you might say, or however it might sound to you, that's your key, that's your indicator that this is something that you need to work on. Keep in mind too, all of us in the world that teach this stuff, we teach what we're learning. So I continually open up my ears and my heart to universal truth. I went to sleep last night with something heavy on my heart. And my only prayer was this, because I felt myself ruminating about it and wanting to, be righteous and be right about the situation. And my prayer was this: God, help me to see this situation correctly through your divine eyes. And I woke up this morning with a clarity and a peace. In the past, when I have not asked that question, I woke up with the same angst and pissed offness and annoyance or whatever it was as the night before. Sometimes I get all caught up in my ego and my righteousness and I ruminate, and sometimes I don't. And the times that I don't are the times that the answers come. And you would think that I would be 100% knocking out of the park at this stage in the game, but I have an ego too. And I have things that my ego is trying to control and trying to scare me, and all the things that it does. And it's something that I continually work on within myself. But I know what works based on experience. And this topic is one of those things, which is self-forgiveness. Back in the day, 10, 12 years ago or so, when I had gone through a massive dark night of the soul, you guys know the story by now, most of you know if you're new here. I'll just sum it up and say that it was a time where I suffered through a huge betrayal, and what I call my tsunami swept through my life. Everything that I had known that made me feel safe and secure in the world was washed away. And I was facing being homeless with 3 kids in tow and no immediate means of income. And it rocked my world. But oftentimes, as these type of tsunamis do, they rock our world for a reason. They bring us to our knees, and at our knees, we can either stay down there or we can say, God, help me. Help me. What do I need to do? Show me the way. And in some point along that journey of mine, I realized that I was contributing to the circumstances in my life. Because we will actually call to us things that are happening. Not all things, okay? But we will call experiences to us that we are in relation with for us to learn and grow. Sorry, I'm getting notifications, you guys. So this leads me to self-forgiveness, because as I started to realize that I had a part in my experiences with my relationships. Once I realized that, and I realized that my relationships were just mirroring myself, how I felt about myself way, way deep on the inside, the not good enoughness, maybe sometimes the too muchness, the unworthiness, all the things that all of us feel. When I started feeling those things, when I started to realize that it was that inner energy that was contributing to my experiences, I owned it. But I didn't own it with additional shame. I owned it with light heart I looked at it and I was like, this is me. And unless or until we become aware about who we are, we're not going to be able to see any differences in our life because we're the common denominator between all the situations. So once I realized that it was me that was disrespecting me that was dishonoring me that was not protecting me that was talking harsh to me that was judging me that was emotionally abusing me, even verbally abusing me. Maybe even say physically abusing me based on some things that I did. When I realized that I was that common denominator, I realized I needed to work on forgiveness of me because I had put myself through a lot. And I was curious about forgiveness because we had heard this word in the world for so long, forgive, 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 forgive. And like many people, I thought forgiveness meant kind of erasing the deed, like it didn't happen. There was sort of a condoning feeling to it. That's what I thought it meant. Because the times that I had let go of transgressions and had just kind of moved on in life, I thought that's what forgiveness was. So I literally thought it was about me kind of forgetting about things that other people did. And then I realized that wasn't it at all, because I started to research. And I started to read spiritual literature to find out, what does this really mean? And I learned a few things which made the forgiveness practice much easier for me. And one of those things is self-forgiveness practice. One of those things is that we are doing the very best we can at any given moment, period. No matter what we did at that moment, that was quite literally as good as it got. So to hold ourselves hostage for doing our best is to only hurt us. It's to only shame us even more. Think of it this way. Think of you're a baseball player. You're a little kid and you're a baseball player. And you get up there and you're literally doing your best. You're trying to hit that ball. And you're doing all the things. You got the right stance. You're holding the bat the right way, and you're keeping your eye on the ball. All those things, but you keep striking out. And then your coach comes up to you and goes, "You suck." That means your best, your very best, is not good enough. It's never going to be good enough. No matter how good I do, it's never going to be good enough because I have the I suck wound inside of me. So I'm saying the coach is you to yourself, okay? Or the coach saying, "Yeah, that was okay, but you could have done better." How do you think that little kid would feel? My son was a huge striker outer. In fact, I think I was too, if I remember correctly, in softball. And every time he'd get off there, I'd high five him and I'd be like, "Way to go." He's like, "Well, I struck out." I said, "But you're up there and you're doing it. And you notice this time you didn't back away from the ball? That's a win." Oh, I got a message and I was trying to scroll through it and it took me to a different screen. So that's a win. And then he would feel pretty good about himself. And then he'd go over to where his father was, and his father, I remember this clearly saying to my son, "Oh yeah, that's so-and-so on your team. He's a star." So here's my son doing the very best he can, showing up, scared to death of the ball. We're talking little league, you guys. We're talking little guys here. Scared to death, doing his best, wanting to be there, but striking out. And here he's got mama, the angel on one shoulder, and daddy, the devil on the other shoulder, which is our higher self and our lower self, and me saying, you're up there. You're in the game. You're still trying. You're going to practices. You didn't back up as much as you used to. Or you got a tip. You hit the ball. You got a foul tip. And then there's the other side going, yeah, that guy's better than you. Can you imagine how that little kid would feel? This is what we're doing to ourselves when we're not forgiving ourselves. We're saying our best is not good enough. We've got to let ourselves off the hook of perfection. So many of us have wandered through the world thinking if we can do everything perfectly, that we're not going to suffer, that no one's going to dislike us, that everything's going to work out great, that we're going to be safe, that we're going to be loved, and that we're going to be approved of. So we try to be perfect. I remember trying to be perfect. I remember that. That's gone now. I healed that a while back. But I remember trying to be perfect. And the stress and pressure I felt, and nobody was doing it to me. Hey, Julia. And I love the baseball girlfriend. What if we feel embarrassed after failing publicly? Yeah. That's a good question. Let me get my pen. Okay, I'm gonna remember to do that. So we must know that being perfect is just not even, it shouldn't even be in your repertoire. It shouldn't even be something that you even consider. I remember wanting perfect hair and perfect body and perfect this and perfect that. And it wasn't about other people. I wasn't trying to make other people perfect around me. I was trying to make me perfect. And I always fell short, always, because I was constantly comparing myself to the world and somebody had something better than I did. So we're in a constant state of failure when we are trying to be perfect. Think about that. We are setting ourselves up for a constant state of failure because perfection is not a thing. We were not put here to be perfect. So let's talk about God, universe, source. Our souls, who we are, divine sparks of God, is holy and perfectly made, period. Holy and perfectly made. Okay? God knows that. God also knows that that we entered into earth suits, and now we have a brain and experiences and fear and an ego and all of those things that are going to contribute to our breakdowns, our missteps, our failures, all the things that we think we're doing. Okay? God would not put us here to fail and then go, oh, but I'm going to forgive you along the way. We're already forgiven. It's the essence of capital L love, God love. We're already forgiven. Okay? The highest energy of the universe is God, which is love. It's unconditional love. That is the highest energy of the universe. Within the makeup or the construct of unconditional love, there is no need for forgiveness. There's no bestowing upon you with a magic wand. You are forgiven, and it's like Oprah with the cars. You get a car, you get a car. You get a forgiveness, you get a forgiveness. You don't get one, you don't get one. That's not how it works. Okay? We're all already forgiven. When I first learned that concept, I think it was by Neil Donald Walsh, I was like mind blown. I'm like, duh, that makes so much sense. Forgiveness is a non-thing because it's built into the essence of love. So it's not the forgiveness of God that we need to have, nor is it the sitting around and waiting for the people that we have hurt, harmed, perpetrated upon to forgive us, because they're on their own journey. We don't know when that's happening. It is the forgiveness of self that sets us free. So going back to what I was saying, when I sat down and I said I dishonored myself, I disrespected myself, I blah, 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 I listed all the things, and I understood my fallibility, but most importantly, I understood that I was doing the absolute best I could at that time with the information and the knowledge and the experiences and the programming that I had had at that time. That was like, to me, and I use this analogy a lot, it was like being mad at myself as if being mad at a baby who's first learning to feed themselves. Or first learning to walk. Right? What does a toddler do? If you all have kids, you know, it's first they're holding on to stuff. And then they go to walk and they take like one step and kaboom, right on that padded diaper. Right? They don't judge themselves. They get back up again and do it again, because 0 to 2 years old, when we are learning to walk, we are still very in touch with our higher self that knows that it's not necessary to judge ourselves for our mistakes. They don't even think, their ego is not even formed yet. And the ego is that voice that's telling us that something's wrong, that we're doing something wrong, that we're not good enough, that we're not this. Now, guilt can be serving and unserving. There's healthy guilt and there's unhealthy guilt. Healthy guilt is you feel guilty because you did something you shouldn't have done. You hurt somebody. Or you hurt yourself. Whatever the guilt is from, doesn't matter. It's an indicator that you have strayed away from your higher self. That's all it is. Emotions are serving. But many of us don't know. I was just listening to a talk this morning and I was like, ain't that the truth? It was a talk about something else, but this came up within the talk. And they said something like that they were only allowed to have 3 emotions in their home: happy, sad, and anger. Something like that. And that is the case for a lot of us because we were raised by emotionally unevolved people. So the healing journey requires us to getting in touch with our emotions so that we know what we're feeling, so we know what self-love tenet to apply to it. So guilt is just a feeling. It's just an emotion. I'm guilty. I did that. Okay. What are you going to apply to that so that you can learn the lesson, heal, and move on? Ownership. Good morning. Ownership. Good morning, Andrea. You take radical responsibility for where you erred. And you make amends to anybody that you need to make amends to. Okay? Sometimes we are not in the position to make amends to people because it might be years later where you have this awakening like, holy bejesus, this was me. I royally effed that up. And maybe those people aren't in your life anymore. But they don't need to be, because we're all energy. And I say this all the time. You can make telepathic amends as long as you are rooted in the right energy. You can sit in meditative state, which doesn't mean oming. It just means a quiet, clear state of focus. Okay? You can sit in that state. You can draw them up into your mind's eye. And you can send your ownership and apology and amends to them. Clean it up. Some people are passed away. You can make telepathic amends to people who have passed. We're all energy, you guys. We're all one. I had a profound meditation once. I don't want to get into the big story because that's not what this is about, so I'm going to tell it very briefly. I may have already told it on another talk. I think I might have. Another live. But I was in this meditation. I was on this side, just over here. And then all of a sudden, some type of force that I cannot feel or see or smell or hear, just a force moved me 6 inches to the right. That's all it did. 6 inches to the right. And I now have words for this. I did not when it first happened. I was like, what the bleep was that? But I realized that I was moved from 3D, I'm using these words, 3D to 5D it must have been. Okay, so I was to physical form, to 3D world, to the ethers or whatever. But when I crossed over the veil, first of all, I felt on this side nothing but love, just unconditional love. This was in a meditation. Unconditional love. Like what people explain in near-death experiences. When they say they leave their body and they go somewhere and they feel this love and this light and this joy and this like non-judgment, all those things. That's exactly what it felt like. But I'm also going to tell you this. There is no veil. They're like, oh, the veil is thinning. The veil is... There's no veil. I didn't go through something. Spirit just moved me to where I could feel it. And at that point, I was like, yeah, Andrea, it was, to be honest with you, that was a level of awakening. I don't even know what to call it, something that it kind of freaked me out. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I was like, oh my God. But I took a week to process. And this is what I mean about we need to be intentional. I took about a week. I'm like, I'm going to just feel my way through this and see what this really meant for me. See what this was about. And I figured out what it was about. And I was like, perfect, move on. Because our messages are always going to be for us. Here's another thing, I'm just going to say this real quick, is that when you get these spiritual messages, sometimes you want to, I know I do, and in fact I do it. I'll run to people, I'm like, oh my God, you guys, you're not going to believe what happened. I have this message. And the message to us is so profound. It's like, and the people are like, yeah, that's cool. Cool. Happy for you. Because it's not their message. They weren't in it. They weren't in the energetic space of it. So they don't get it. And I might be able to feel, sometimes we have people that are like, dude, I know that space. Like, I've had some people recently come to me with some profound stuff that has happened in their meditations. And I'm like, I know what you're talking about. Like, I get it and I can relate, but yet the message is still theirs because they'll say the message and it's personal and private to them. Okay? So my point being is that what we're constructing in this world and what we're judging ourselves for, we're repeatedly hurting ourselves because we're expecting ourselves to be something other than fallible and teeny tiny baby human toddlers. I don't care if you're 80. We're teeny tiny baby human toddlers. Some 80-year-olds have reached a level of awakening that was mind-blowing and some have not. Age does not matter. God, guys, I know this is weird because of the fuzz. It's the light coming in the windows. I don't know what to do. I hope it's okay. I feel like you can't see me very clearly. Okay, we're teeny tiny baby toddlers here on this earth doing the very best we can with every situation in any given moment, and to judge ourselves, condemn ourselves, and hold ourselves hostage to our mistakes is to keep us stuck. It is to not grow. It is to repeat the pattern. It is to hardwire that shame and unworthiness more in our brain. Our job here is to return back to the unconditional love, which eradicates the shame and unworthiness. It's not like it blows it up, it just dissipates. I did not have some weird thing, like physical thing happen. This was this really slow progression that one day I woke up and I saw myself, not woke up, like had the awareness that someone texted me something and the old me would have been like, oh, okay? But I didn't do that. Sorry, my little hairs are blowing on my cheeks. I didn't do that. And I was like, what happened? Because that text would have been somehow constructed to get love, approval, or acceptance. And I didn't do it. I didn't even need to do it. Because I had healed my inner world. Because I understand these concepts that I'm sharing with you today. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I don't want to see you hurting anymore. I don't want to see you judging yourself anymore. I want you to stop thinking that you suck. And you're never going to get any better. And things are never going to change. Stop. You are in control. We are co-creators with Source because we are Source. But you got this human mind. We came here with free will. That's the fascinating point, because if we came here just knowing our godness, why are we here? Why would we need to be here? We had to have this polarity inside of us that challenged us to grow. So anytime that you're holding yourself hostage to a mistake, condemning yourself, how do we let ourselves shine in spite of our own inner critic? Julia, I made a whole live on that. Did you see that live? I made it for that question. I said it, shine, I forgot the title of it. How do you let yourself shine despite jealousy and insecurity? I may have addressed it in that, but I will. Yep, I think I did, because that was part of my brain too. But if you haven't listened to that, I'll touch on that too briefly. So what I want you to understand, when you can give yourself grace and forgiveness repeatedly, grace and forgiveness, grace and forgiveness, grace and forgiveness, what is going to happen is you are going to up-level spiritually in a way that will blow your mind. Yeah, it was that, but yeah, okay. Yes, we'll talk. Just hold on. You're going to up-level yourself in your mind in ways that is undescribable. You guys hear me say this all the time. I cannot describe the level of freedom. No one can. I have a lot of people in my circle who have done this type of work too. They didn't come until afterwards. Like, we didn't all sit around powwowing doing this work together. I didn't know them. But since that up level happened, this I call them my mighty companions, came in. And we all have sit and tried to describe what it feels when you return back to the unconditional love of self, and the best word is freedom and peace. Things are clearer for you. You see life in a completely different way. You up-level yourself. Grace and forgiveness becomes your new, are you ready for this? Default thinking. Your autopilot, instead of I suck, there's something wrong with me, starts to become I'm doing the best I can, and it's okay. I'm going to learn from my lesson, and I'm going to move on. Here's another thing, you guys. There is no failure. As a creator, as a coach, as a social media, all these things that I do, the public speaking, I have listened to marketers. I've listened to other people. I've listened to all this stuff. Thank you. Yes. And everybody kept saying, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. You're going to fail. Don't worry, you're going to fail. You're going to fail 10,000 times. And I'm like, what the bleep? Why on earth is someone going to want to say to someone that they're going to fail 10,000 times? No, not on my watch. I never even subscribed or knew the word failure until all this social media stuff saying that to me. Because here's how I view failure. Oh, that didn't work. Let me try something else. Think of the energy difference between you failed again, and that didn't work. Let me try something else. This is a hill I will stand on. This is one of those hills that I would stand on in any public forum and say, no, do not subscribe to failure. You are learning. I am learning. We are learning. That's why I call us soul siblings. We're all here together learning. So when we make a perceived mistake or a misstep, now I say perceived because sometimes they are perceived. Oh, awesome, Julia. Sometimes they're perceived. Sometimes we just, our default of I suck is so deep that we didn't even do anything wrong and we think we did. So I'm going to say when we make a real or perceived misstep or mistake, guess what it's designed for? To teach us a lesson. That's it. No big mystery here. And I'll tell you guys, the older I get, the more I practice, the more I realize how simple spirituality is. It's like mind-blowing to me. I'm like, it's really, I talk on wisdom a lot, and you guys know I hosted a lot of talks on the Wisdom app, and been spending most of my time over here on YouTube right now, so I'm not giving a lot of live talks over there, but I still jump in and talk to my friends. And sometimes we're talking about some big old huge subject, and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, it's just a call to love or something really simple like that, and everyone's like, yeah, that's what it is. We complicate the shoot out of things. So misstep, an error. It's a call to go higher. It's a call to love yourself more or others more. Period. It's not a call to beat you up and think you're supposed to be perfect and you're supposed to do everything a certain way and oh my God, you suck. Okay? I call that the I suck wound. Okay. There's one more thing I wanted to mention. Sometimes we believe, or we can't forgive ourselves because we feel like we let down or hurt somebody that we love. I should have done better. I should have known better. I should have done better. Here's, again, this goes back to you doing the very best you could with the level of knowledge and information and life experiences and programming and all the things. You did the best you could. But here's another way to look at this. Now, this doesn't mean that we're off the hook if we do something wrong. Of course, we need to correct that, or, we hurt somebody. We need to make amends. We need to show up to it. But here's another way to look at it. If you're having trouble forgiving yourself for something that you have done, because you think you holding yourself hostage is going to help that person, it's not. You're hurting everybody involved. Because your energy is part of this collective consciousness that we are all part of. Undeniably. We are energy. Everything is energy. Period. The end. Period. So your lack of forgiving self is contributing to the dark side. Don't worry, I'm not calling you dark. I've done it too. So we can choose to have this forgiveness for ourselves, to give ourselves grace, to let ourselves off the hook, to learn our lesson and to move on. We are actually contributing to the light, to the healing of the planet, to the healing of humanity. But one of the ways, I spoke about this before on a talk, one of the ways that I was able to forgive my ex so quickly was understanding that we had a soul contract. I don't know if I ever told you guys this. This is weird. And you guys like woo-woo, right? Give me a thumbs up if you like woo-woo in the comments. I'm not going to tell the story till I get at least 2 thumbs up. Because talk about soul contracts. That whole thing was so purposeful. Meeting my tsunami ex. I met him, it was around my birthday, and some couple girlfriends and I went out to a bar that plays music. Not to get faced or anything. Thanks, Julia. You're always on my team, sis. And not on the prowl, not looking to date, nothing. Just gonna go have a beer with the girlfriends. I mean, it was really nothing. It was a nothing night. It wasn't a club. I was wearing khaki pants and a black tank top. I think I wore that to work that day. I mean, this was, not on the prowl. It's a busy Saturday night. Yeah, bro, stay in your lane. It's a busy Saturday night. You got there around 8 o'clock. There's a U-shaped bar, and then there's a band playing. So usually all the bar seats are taken, right? Thanks, Andrea. Usually all the bar seats are taken. There was 3 seats. Boom, boom, boom. Right open, right at the top of the U. If the U went like this of the bar, right at the top of that U. Boom, boom, boom. 3 seats. There's 3 of us. Now, this is what's going to blow your hair back. And again, this was my experience, so you guys might not understand the profoundness of it. But we're walking in that bar, again, not thinking anything, not on the prowl, not wanting to meet anybody, having literally maybe a beer or 2 with my girlfriends and going home. That was it. I love live music, so that's what we're going to do. And I walk in and I see this guy sitting at the bar, not even really consciously seeing him. I just look up at this guy, and he's not my type. He's not someone in a lineup, he wouldn't have turned my head. And I said to my girlfriends as we're walking up, I go, oh my God, I'm going to marry that bald guy. They look at me because I was in the middle. They both look at me. And I'm just like, I don't even know where that came from. But because that thought just came, came through me. And as we were walking up to the bar, I put my girlfriend next to him. I said, you sit here. And I sat in the middle. Somewhere along the line, he starts talking to us. We're joking. We're all hitting it off. His friend was there too, who was really, really nice, that I'm still friends with to this day. And at one point we went to the restroom. We're being 12-year-olds in the restroom. We're crawling underneath the stalls and just doing, shenanigans, because we were now at this point had a couple beers. We come back out, and he says to me, what took you guys so long? I'm like, yeah, we're just being silly. And my girlfriend sit down in the other 2 seats, which left that one open for me. Long story short, tsunami husband. Here's another weird thing that happened with that. Okay? So I knew ahead of time. And I believe that's that's what soul contracts look like. And because I'm open to these type of things, that came, but there was a part of me that was like resistant to it. I think I knew that I was going to go through some hell. It was really weird, you guys. So then he called me that night. He's like, yeah, you should be at my house, or I should come to your place, or something like that. I was like, yeah, no, bye. Nope. Then he said, I'm going to call you next week or something like that on Wednesday. I'm going to call you on Wednesday. He didn't call me on Wednesday. He didn't call me on Thursday. He didn't call me on Friday. He didn't call me on Saturday. He calls me on Sunday. I hear my phone ringing. This is when we had those star tacks. Remember those that folded? I actually liked my little star tack because it was light enough to clip to my belt when I was working. Anyway, I'm going to open my windows. This is a really warm sweater, and it's getting hot in here. It's probably the story. I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, I'm going to clip this to me so I can take my sweater off. So my phone's ringing. It's like a Sunday. I'm doing the home mommy thing with my kids, and just, music's playing. It's gorgeous outside, all the things. And my phone rings. And I walk down the hallway, and my phone's on the bed. I pick it up. I see who it is. I shut it, put it back on the bed, and walk down the thing. Something in me. And then I turned around, and I always say this, I picked up the phone and sealed my fate. But that experience cracked me open in a way that I will never go back from, and I'm actually grateful for. And this is what happens in life. when we go through tough times, if we show up to the lesson of that tough time, we will heal and we will up level. But my point about this being, you may have been the person that signed a soul contract with somebody else to be their perpetrator. So if you feel like you hurt somebody, or you wounded somebody, or what have you, forgive yourself. Because you might have been that soul contract for someone else. The only point is that you learn from it. And you do whatever it takes to heal on the inside so that you don't repeat it. Guys, I think I'm going to relocate. I don't really like the weird lighting. I don't know. Is it weird to you guys? Okay, now I'm going to answer some questions. Live chat. All right, let me scroll back to what if we feel embarrassed after failing publicly? Okay. I'm going to give you the same answer of everything that I just said so far. Embarrassment is a self-imposed judgment. Because if you didn't judge yourself, you wouldn't be feeling this way. And I have substantiating proof for that. Here's what that is. When I judged myself, when I thought it was bad or wrong for something that I did, I felt embarrassed and ashamed and small and all the things. But when I cleaned up all the self-judgments about who I was supposed to be and how I was supposed to be and what is appropriate and perfect and right and accepting in the world, when I accepted all aspects of my personality, I stopped being embarrassed. Embarrassment stops coming because it is a judgment of yourself. Hold on, you guys. Now you guys know why when you see me on these talks, I have these little clips in my hair. Because these bangs that want to fall in my face. So luckily I had my gym bag here and that was clipped on there. So that is done deal. I do not have to play with that hair anymore. So let's say this, you guys. Let's say I had a judgment about, I'm trying to come up with something right now. Let's say I farted in public. All right? If I said to myself, that means I suck, there's something wrong with me, people are going to hate me, blah, 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 I would be embarrassed. Because I would be judging myself. I would be condemning myself. But if I said to myself, people are walking by, so I'm not going to say, if I have accepted that passing gas is acceptable. I think you guys are responding to this. I gotta get the messages back up. Yeah. Oh, you guys. I really love the stuff you guys say. Okay. So what I'm saying is that when you forgive yourself, when you stop judging yourself, you don't care. The judgments that you worried about coming from other people don't come. This is really about grace and compassion of self. This is really and truly about letting yourself off the hook. And it's not only about grace and forgiveness, it's about compassion and acceptance. So I hope you guys understand the farting / cat passing gas thing. You know, if I think it's wrong or bad or people aren't going to like me or they're going to judge me, I gotta sneeze. 70-something degrees are the highs in Phoenix right now in January and stuff starts blooming. Anyway, then I'm going to be really embarrassed. when I started giving wisdom talks, if I didn't feel like my talk went well, yes, Julia just said it takes time. I've been stuck on stuff for years, and we even have to forgive ourselves for that. And I'm going to say absolutely, we can do it. Yes, I'm going to move, you guys. I need better lighting. This is driving me nuts. Absolutely, we need to forgive ourselves for not being able to forgive ourselves. We need to give ourselves grace and acceptance and compassion and acceptance all the time. This is a constant. And like I said, this will start to become your default way of thinking, so that when something comes up, rather than going into condemnation and judgment and attack thoughts on self, your default is going to be, it's all right. It's okay. You're doing the best you can. It's pretty bright now, you guys. I can't find any shade, but you see what I'm saying? Your default is going to be, it's okay. You're doing the best you can. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that type of reprogramming. Now my seatbelt thing is going off, so gotta love live. Gotta love live. Hold on. And you know what's funny too is that the Wisdom app is live, you guys, and we deal with this stuff with each other all the time when we're doing live stuff. We're like, sorry, dogs are barking, walking on a walk, dogs are barking, and stuff like that. And it just makes it more real. Okay? So I'm going to answer the next question. Well, let me see what Julia said. I'm going to pull over to the side here. I'm in a neighborhood, you guys, no one's around, so don't freak out. Can we forgive ourselves for wasting time for years of beating ourselves up? Absolutely. Sister, forgive yourself for everything. Forgive yourself for not forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself for perceived waste of time. Let me tell you something. If you guys learned a lesson, there is no waste of time. There is no waste of time. When I start to think I'm wasting time, and this is not to attack, I'm just telling you honestly what I think. When I start to judge myself that I'm wasting time about something, then I say, oh, Kristen, you're still in this situation for a reason. Kristen, you're still here for a reason. You're supposed to be learning something, sis. Oh, okay. And then I don't even feel like I'm wasting time anymore. Because we're showing up, I'm showing up to the spiritual path, the spiritual journey for what it's intended for, which is learning. Okay? I found some shade. Which is learning. So once I pull over here, you guys, I'm going to check the messages again and respond to your messages. So let me just do this little thing right here. Oh, that didn't really change the lighting at all. All that for nothing. I think it's just because it's bright outside. Okay, let's see what we got here. I'm going to go back and make sure that I'm answering. Okay, let ourselves shine despite our inner critic. Julia, simple answer to that. You clean up the inner critic. Oh, despite the inner critic. By being authentically you. By being authentically you. Now, all of this works hand in hand, okay? I talked about this on the last live I gave about boundaries. What comes first, self-love or boundaries, right? So some people are saying, just set boundaries, just set boundaries. And other people are saying, you got to love yourself first so that you can set the boundary, right? What comes first? It's interconnected. The same thing is here is that what you guys need to know about me is when I make a decision in my head, I commit myself to that. When I get that spiritual awakening, when I get that capital T truth, when I get that thing show up in my life, I commit to it. So when I learned that I wasn't being authentic, which is mind blowing, because I have been called, everybody who knows me my whole life has said, you're so authentic, you're so real. Real's the word they used. You're so real, you're so real, you're so real. And I am real because I'm honest. You guys are seeing everything I'm doing right now, right? But when I understood that there was a part of me that was still playing small, that was hiding, that was trying to get love, approval, and acceptance from people in the outside world, I realized I wasn't 100% authentic. I was forthright with my opinions and my thoughts and my feelings and things like that. I was forthright with all those things. But unconsciously, and this is why we forgive ourselves, unconsciously, I realized that I had been withholding a portion of myself for fear, again, that I wasn't going to be loved, approved of, accepted. But here's the thing. I was withholding those parts because I was not loving, approving, and accepting those things. Me. It was my shadows. It was my darkness. It was my shame. I didn't even give those things a chance in the outside world because I had judged me. And here's what's mind-blowing, you guys, the paradox. We keep trying to get something from this outside world, right? We're covering people pleasers. We're dimming our light, we're playing small, we're doing all these things to try to get things from the outside world. And we never get it. It doesn't happen. But then we clean up our inside world, we start to give it to ourselves, which leads to us not trying to get it from the outside world anymore. And guess what we get? We get it from the outside world. I can't make this shit up. I can't make it up. So all that time we spend thinking it's out there, it's really in here. Because when I stopped judging myself about things and I was able to show them to the outside world, I will dance in a grocery store, you guys. I will sing out loud. I will do these things. So let's say those were the things I would hold back from myself. I do those things now and people will smile at me. Or they'll do it with me. Or something some positive response will come back that I'm not looking for, which is fascinating because I'm just being me. I've accepted that. I gotta put my glasses on. Yeah. What if we find it hard to love and approve of our shame and shadow? That's only your ego keeping you small. Okay? It's not that you are specifically wired to not be able to do this, because you're a child of God equal to all of us. We're all the same. I will tell you this, you guys, and if I could plaster one thing in the sky for people to attach onto, if there's one thing that I'm about to say right now, I have seen this repeatedly, that our hidden shame stops us from looking at our hidden shame. I'm trying to think that through. If it's even hidden shame, stopping to look at shame. Our shame is stopping us from looking at our shadow where the healing is. Okay, because we internally feel bad, even whether conscious of it or not. Some people are, some people are not. And in spirit, God is going, go look in that box right there. Go look in that box. Open that box. And you're like, I can't. The people that go over and look in the box and they go, oh yeah, here's my unworthiness. Here's my fear. Here's where I think I suck. Here's my this, here's my that. We have brought it to the light. Think about a wound, you guys. Think about a wound that is untended to. get this big cut on your arm, you don't tend to it. You cover it up, and you never let it have air. You didn't wash it. You did nothing to it. What's it going to do? It's going to fester. Fester, 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 and wreak havoc on your body, right? Because it'll get an infection. That infection will spread. Same thing that happens with our inner wounds. They just fester and fester and fester and fester and fester, and then they start to wreak havoc in our outer world. Okay? Because of the energy that they're coming from is what we're going to draw to us. I'm raising both hands. This is, yeah. Okay? So I'm going to go back through your questions to make sure that I am on track, and somebody else has been commenting too. Just want to make sure I cover all this. I'm going back quite a ways here to make sure okay, how do we let ourselves shine despite our, oh yeah, so let me finish that point. The point is, the fear of what you're going to see is what's stopping you. But what you are going to see is what's going to help you heal. Give me a thumbs up if you get what I'm saying. Give me 100. Give me something. I know there's a delay on this thing, so it might take a second for me to see it, but so many times. Oh, this was the point. This is the thing that I said, if you walk away from one thing. The most challenging part of the healing path is the initial break from ego. The fear, the control, all the things. That is the most challenging part, is the initial detachment from ego, where you start to look at it and you go, you're not serving me. Because the ego is loud. And it is, what's the word where something's consistently coming at you? Relentless. That's happening all day long in your head, right? And spirit's over here trying to be heard, but it's quiet. It's right here. It's powerful. When we finally go, wait a minute, hold up. Thanks, Julia. Hold up. There's two sides to my psyche. There's a fearful side and a not fearful side. There is a lie side and there is a truth side. What? This will lead me astray and this will lead me towards my best life? Oh, what does this one sound like? It sounds like fear and control and constriction and playing small and judgment of self of others. Oh, so when this is happening inside of me, I know I'm with my ego. This is the shift. It's that initial pull away because the ego is scaring us constantly. It's telling us lies and it's scaring us. Because its job is to keep you small, to protect you. So we don't want to be mad at the ego because it's serving. It's here for a reason. But it lies. And it's fearful. Where over here you got truth, expansion, peace, love, compassion, forgiveness, grace, support, humility. So which side are you going to choose? This is quite literally how the work started for me. I learned about the ego through Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. And then I read Return to Love by Marianne Williamson many years later, and it was talking about the same stuff. And I was like, wait a minute. And I started to pay attention when I was listening to my ego. And I made a conscious effort to go towards love and start listening over here. That's when things started to shift for me. So the initial break from ego The initial step away, there's all kinds of words people use in the world. Step away, break away, the initial awareness of it, the first time you put down control for 5 minutes, the first time you really truly step into faith. Whatever it looks like to you, that initial step is the most challenging. But once you make that initial step, what happens is things start to already change. Yes, love that book. Which one, Andrea? Which one did you read? Was it A New Earth or Return to Love? But things will start to change immediately. And going back to what I was talking about with emotions in the beginning of this, if you're in touch with your body, you're going to start to feel differently, and you're going to be like, what happened? And you're going to go, I know what happened. I stopped listening to this for 5 minutes, and I listened to this. That felt so much better. Now I want to do it for 6 minutes. Now I want to do it for 7 minutes. Oops, I went back to ego for a day or a minute or whatever. Return to love. Yes, girlfriend. Hands down, changed my life in the most profound ways. And I study A Course in Miracles now because of that. And you return back to ego. Now what you do? You go, okay, I see what I did. I went back into the fear zone. I'm going to choose love and light again. I'm going to choose truth is really what you're choosing. And I go back over here again, stay in that for a while. Oh, you come back. You just keep course correcting. And what happens is the space between gets bigger and bigger and bigger. All right. I'm still cracking up that I moved to get better lighting and it didn't do a daggone thing. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay. I hope I answered that question, Julia, about feeling embarrassed after failing publicly. Let yourself off the hook, sis. Here's another thing. No one's thinking about that. What we're ruminating on, we're thinking it's the worst thing ever, and oh my God, all these people must think all these things about me. No. They've moved on. They're all in their own head. So we're spending a lot of energy worried, embarrassed about something that nobody else cares about, for the most part. I mean, I don't know what your situation was, but yeah, people are way too caught up in their own stuff. Okay, let me go back down again. Make sure, inner critic. Yep, paradigm shift. Needed this, thank you, been on both sides. Yes, learn from it, awesome. Took me 10 years to give my ex-husband for the betrayal, and that is okay. That is okay. You are on your own spiritual journey, and that's why we give ourselves grace. I'm glad you did forgive him, though, Andrea. Okay, we can do it. Can we forgive ourselves for wasting our time? Yes, we talked about that. Okay, Marinali. I try to forgive myself, but I don't succeed in that because I made many errors in life, losing everything, money, and also in personal relationship. How to overcome. Mary, that is exactly what this entire talk is all about, my sweet girlfriend. Or boyfriend, I'm not sure I think you're a female. But anyway, yes, that is what this entire talk is about. But we can hear the theory, all right? We can hear, okay, you just wrote the same thing twice. Okay. All right. Okay. We can hear the theory, but until we apply the theory to action, we're not going to get any change. So if you are feeling resistant, if you are in a resistant place, okay, hold on. I'm female. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Oh yeah, study group for A Course in Miracles. We should just start one, to be honest with you. There is something on Instagram that I forgot what it is. It's Course in Miracles. Oh God, find me on Instagram, Andrea, at self_love_junkie. It's not a study group, but they They post little reels, and man, their reels nail it. So I don't know if that's going to help you. That's an offer if you want to do that. Okay. So really what it boils down to, you guys, is applying what you're learning, because nothing is going to change unless you change what you're doing. We have to understand that the old patterned way of behavior is not serving us. My old patterned way of behaving was not serving me. Nothing was changing. It was the same crap over and over again. And I kept thinking that there was going to be, if I just kept to it, that there was going to be this, my lottery number would finally get pulled, or that I would draw a king from the deck finally, or something, that it was just a matter of time. I thought it was a numbers game. I was drastically wrong. I needed to start to think from an entirely different perspective. And I didn't know that at the time. I need you to know that. I did not know that. I didn't have anybody like me telling me this. But I showed up to shifts in perception. I showed up to spirituality. I showed up to capital T truth, i.e. universal truth, or AKA universal truth. The second I heard a concept that resonated with me, I got to work to implement it. And if you guys are feeling resistance to the work, because that can happen and that's okay, but you are willing to shift something inside of yourself, then take it to God, Source, Universe, and say, I am willing. I feel my resistance. I feel my resistance. It's strong. And I'm not being able to override this on my own. Can you please assist me? I am willing to release this resistance so I can bring in capital T truth, and I can start applying things in my life so that I can have an improved experience while I'm here. So I can up level, so I can find peace, so I can attract my soulmate, whatever it might be, build my business. I've always said this, I've always said it, and I had it validated the other day. I've always said that the work here is shame and unworthiness, period. It's healing up, healing the messages that we accrued along the way and returning to the unconditional love. And no matter the catalyst that brings us to that, whether it's a health failure, a relationship failure, or a monetary failure, whatever cracks us open to the healing, it doesn't matter. But when we start to heal those things, right, those embedded emotions inside of us that are wreaking havoc, then we clean up the other areas of our lives. Mind blowing. The other day I was listening to something, I don't know what it was, don't remember, and the guy said that his friend helps CEOs of big corporations and companies heal their trauma. That's his niche. Helps big CEOs heal their trauma. Where they might have been making, I don't know, X amount of dollars prior to healing of the trauma, afterwards their company just went skyrocket. This trauma healing is what we're called here to do. That's the whole path. We come here, we're little perfect babies, we know nothing other than our divinity, we grow, we start to form an ego. The ego starts to translate all the messages around us, either direct messages to us or ways that we compared ourselves, or society dictated something to us about how things needed to be. And we process that through. That became our programming. That became our disempowered and dysfunctional action. That became our shame and unworthiness rooting. And then we go through life with this for a while, and then shit's not working. Like things are going wrong. And the path is to telling, okay, let me look back and see what thoughts and beliefs that I am carrying into my future. She's woken up now. What am I carrying into my future? Because our thoughts create things. Our thoughts and beliefs create our experiences. We're always going to get a mirrored reflection. So if we don't like what we're seeing, we don't like what we're experiencing, we got some inner healing to do. That's it. And sometimes things are embedded pretty good, right? They could be embedded in there pretty good. And this might require a little additional help via therapy. Tapping. I'm a huge advocate of tapping. I have tapped my way through some serious fears. Things that were withholding from me, things that I was like, I can't get this thing to budge. The resistance was great. Tapped my way through it, got rid of it. And each time it just decreased a little bit more and decreased a little bit more, but I stayed with the practice. And that's the part. That's why this whole thing is called a spiritual practice. They don't say a spiritual degree where we go into this curriculum, we have a degree, we're done, we're up leveled, we're good to go. It's a practice. It's ongoing. But as we grow, we start to get tools in our tool belt. Okay? And one of those tools is self-forgiveness. We forgive ourselves along the way. We give ourselves grace and forgiveness along the way. Because we are human and we are fallible and we're doing the best we can. Last thing, my publisher messaged me because we had so many problems with formatting and whatnot. And she said, listen, since this has taken so long, I'm doing a new thing to my book and I would like to offer it to yours. She said, we offer a reader's bonus for the people that purchase the book. And she said, would you like to come up with some type of reader's bonus for your readers? And I said, yeah. I said, actually, I have been thinking about recording self-love meditations. So I recorded 3 self-love meditations: grace and forgiveness of self, compassion and acceptance of self, and securing your inner child. These meditations are about somewhere around 7.5 minutes each. They're not long. And they are available. They're going to be available to the readers of my book because there will be a QR code in my book, but they're also available to you. So if you are working on this and you are working on shifting your perception and retraining your brain in a certain way, then I invite you to go over to my website, kristenbrown.org. And it's like probably 2 blocks down on the home page. You'll see it. And all you got to do is fill in your email address, and you will get an immediate email back that is going to give you the links to those meditations that are housed here on YouTube. They're not videos. They're audios with a picture. So that you can start working on this stuff yourself. Sometimes we need a little assistance. And sometimes having a scripted meditation going, coupling that with breathing practices and applying the way it feels, can help to train our brain. So I'm offering this free gift to you. Just go over to my website, kristenbrown.org, and it's like right on the homepage. You can't miss it. All right, there'll be 3 little images of the meditations. All right, you guys, I want to thank everybody for being with me today. Thank you for being here listening, and I hope you got something from this, because I want to see you experience peace. I want to see you experience joy. I want to see you experience abundance and everything, all your desires, because it's all there for you. It's all there for me. It's our birthright. Abundance is our birthright. And it is those desires that call us to heal ourselves, because we can't experience those desires unless we clean up the energetic blocks within ourselves, which is often our unhealed trauma and unhealed wounding. So that's all the spiritual journey is called to do. Make a decision in your own heart and mind that you're ready. If you still feel resistance, all you need to do is to ask Spirit, Holy Spirit, God, Source, Universe to help you. And it will. And it will. One last message. So much good stuff. Thank you, Kristen. How do you tangibly put it into action? Oh, that's a good question. How do you tangibly put it into action? Tangibly, you can journal your new thoughts and beliefs. Journaling is powerful. They say something about taking the time to actually write our thoughts with a pen to paper slows down the brain and allows things to absorb. This is such a fast-paced world. We all want to type our stuff. But taking the time to journal, you can journal about new thoughts, beliefs. Another thing that I did is when I read books, if something stood out to me, because I read it through the lens of what do I need? In the past, and my ego brain was, trying to fix everybody else. So I'd read it, oh, they need this, they need this. So I started to read it through my own head, and I'd highlight things, and then I'd go back and I would reread those things over and over again, because repetition is how we learn. So I'd reread those things. Another tangible thing to do is I would apply it. Like, say, this concept of self-forgiveness. I'd say, all right, I'm working on self-forgiveness today. Anytime I feel myself judging myself, and I'm going to know I'm feeling that way because the way it's going to feel in my body, anytime I feel myself judging myself, I'm going to apply forgiveness. I'm going to say, you are whole and perfect just the way you are, and you are forgiven. You are a fallible human being, and I will say something like that I would say to somebody else. And I would say that to myself, and I would do that repeatedly. Another thing that I did that I think is an integral part of this journey is I meditated. And I did walking meditations. I did driving meditations. My driving meditation would be looking at seeing what every beautiful tree I could find on the way to work. Okay? We don't have to be an Om to do this. In fact, there has been Eastern gurus has said that Western people have really lost the concept of what meditation is. What it really is focused thinking. Okay? Because otherwise we're fragmented and we're jumping out to things. So I would just drive down the road because I knew I was feeling stressed, and I'd go, I'm going to point out every beautiful tree, and I'd go, oh my God, that one's pretty. Wow, oh no, that one's a 10. And I would just look at and that way I got out of my thinker. But meditation is going to clear space from the overthinking that so many of us chronically do. It clears space. Okay? And in that cleared space creates a gap in our thinking, so that when something happens, we're not punch responding like we always do. We're not doing that knee-jerk reaction that we typically do. There's a space created because we've slowed down our thinking. Not only that, it allows for new awarenesses. You guys all, you don't have that landing page. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put instead of going to my KristenBrown.org, when I do the description on this, I'm going to actually put the landing page for those meditations, so that at the bottom of that, I explain what meditation does for us. It's fascinating. It's actually a real, true scientific thing. So I would also meditate. I mean, I meditate like a mofo. Okay? I'm not kidding. It became my job. I was like, I'm going to meditate as often as, and that's how I started doing things like looking at trees, because I was like, I didn't have time this morning to meditate, but I'm driving to work and I'm an anxious mess. What can I do? Get out of your thinker, Kristen. How do you get out of your thinker? Focus on something else. So this is what we do. I can talk to you. I can share with you. I can love you guys up. I can do all the things. And you need to be your own authority as well and say, what can I do for me? The other thing is I looked at projections. All of this is in my book, by the way, The Recovering People Pleaser, that's coming out. I looked at projections. Anytime that I was judging somebody else, I know that that's a projection of me. So I'd say, oh, you're judging her for X. I'm like, okay, where is that inside of you? Yep, I see it. I see it. And then I would send love and healing to that part of me. I would accept that part of me, and guess what happened? That cleaned up. The projection stopped happening. It's all about focused intention. All right, you guys, I've got to boogie, okay? I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And I will put that link in the description when I get a chance to do that. It may not be in the next 5 minutes because I'm going home. And, and hopefully you will, if you're called to, if you're invited to, if you feel, inspired to in your own heart, download those meditations and get to work on doing those self-healing meditations. They're really powerful. They're really powerful, especially if you do them a couple of times. You will actually start to retrain your brain to think in a different way. Plus, you're doing it in a slower brainwave state, which is going to allow it to sink in. So it's not like if we're in high beta and we're hearing this stuff, yeah, it makes sense, but we're in high beta, so it's not absorbing. It's not absorbing. That's why meditation, when you get down into that theta brainwave state, and that information comes on, it absorbs. Sometimes it doesn't stick, and we got to do it again and again and again, and then all of a sudden it's like you draw a line with chalk, and the first time you draw a chalk line, it's kind of faint, but then you draw over it again and it's darker and it's darker and it's darker and it's darker, right? That's kind of what the repetition does for us, is it really solidifies things for us. So I love you guys' questions. I love your interaction. No one has given me a thumbs up yet, so I would super love if you guys would hit the thumbs up on the video so you can boost my algorithms and, do all good things, right? All right. Love you, and I will talk to you next time. Peace, everybody. Bye.